Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Elevenses with the reps at Diesel Bookstore. Thank you for joining us. Every Wednesday, if you're joining us for the first time, we get together here in our little space and we talk about books with our publishing professionals, with our booksellers, and occasionally with authors as well. We go down all kinds of interesting rabbit holes, book related, but mostly we share the wealth of knowledge and information that our wonderful publishers reps have to share with us, and they want to let you know about all of the new and upcoming recently released titles that they're excited about. And as I mentioned pretty much every week, my to be read pile expands exponentially with every, you'd think I would have read all of these or known or have prepared, but no, there's always something on this list, and there will be something for you as well. And we will post all of the titles that we're talking about today in the little chat area there, so you can go ahead and order those later. I'm going to introduce all of our reps to you in just a moment, but first, I want to tell you what's happening in the actual store coming up in the next week. We have actually tonight, which is March 11th already, can you believe it, at 6:30 p.m. Gigi Berardi is coming to the store, and she will be discussing and signing Bianca's Cure. And joining her in conversation is Kim Bixler. So that is tonight at 6:30 p.m. And then I want to tell you about a very special event we have coming up on the 24th. So that is in 2 weeks. Is that right? No, next week. No. Anyway, the 24th. Lost my mind. But we have Felicia Day, and she's gonna be at the store on Tuesday, March 24th at 6:30 p.m. And we have very special person coming to be in conversation with her, and that is going to be Leigh Bardugo. So that is going to be quite the duo, Felicia Day and Leigh Bardugo, and Felicia will be discussing and signing The Lost Daughter of Sparta. So that's going to be Tuesday, March 24th at 6:30 p.m. And we'll talk about that again. And just a reminder that all of our events are available to view coming up in the next few months at dieselbookstore.com. So you can check that out as well. All right. Let's get to it. Let's talk about who's here today and with their wonderful books to talk about. We've got Andrea Tetrick from PGW. It's great to see you, Andrea. Been a minute. Dave Ehrlich from Chronicle Books. Good to see you, Dave. And one of our many returning champions, Tom Benton from Penguin, just returned from New York, I think, right?
Exactly, yeah.
SalesCons were very excited. I'm sure you have a bunch of things you want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, great. All right, well, Andrea, why don't you lead us off today?
Okay, great to be back. I have a little culture shock from my Italian tour, as one does, but I'm still very excited to talk about this array of books I have, beginning with The Glorians, Visitations from the Holy Ordinary. This is from international and national bestseller and acclaimed nature writer Terry Tempest Williams. This is the first book that Grove Press has published by her. We're happy to have her. So happy she came over. And this is narrative nonfiction, as per for her, exploring notions of beauty, discussing climate change, and transcendent moments of hope in a very fraught current world. And in this time of political fragility, climate chaos, and trying to scrape out a little foothold of hope, a little, fingerhold of hope, wherever we can find it, Williams introduces us to this notion of the Glorians. They're not distant deities, but ordinary, everyday, often overlooked presences all around us. They can be plants, animals, little events, memories that remind us of our collective humanity, our shared vulnerability, and just our interconnectedness with the natural world. It could be a beautiful sunset on, out overlooking a beautiful mountain. It could be a really nice glass of wine with your beloved. It could be a perfect snowflake on your hand. Anything that just reminds us that we still have so much beauty all around us, and we have so much to work towards to preserve, even though there has been so much degradation of our natural world. And I think this could not be published at a better time. And it's quite beautiful. It's lyrical and beautiful and accessible prose. So that's Terry Tempest Williams, The Glorians.
This is a perfect time for this kind of message, I think. And we've been talking a lot about books that are coming out now about connection with nature and sort of redefining the role of nature in your life and getting out there and having quiet moments. And I think it's really very timely and excellent practice to sort of get into at this point.
Yes.
Where we're so
Yes.
overwhelmed all the time with everything.
Yeah, it is a good reminder for sure. And I like how she opens up the scope beyond the natural world. Glorians could just be a memory that you have from a past, wonderful moment. But basically, the Glorians can be anything
Right.
that you need. And it's just really about your mindset. And I think that's the important message here.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrea. All right, Dave, what's your first book?
All right. Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Diesel, for having me today. I'm going to start today with a release that is in stores, including Diesel, as of yesterday. And this is Full Belly Farm and Kitchen. This comes to us from Hardy Grant, our beautiful cookbook lifestyle publisher, or imprint at Chronicle. These are recipes and stories from a family farm from Amon and Jenna Muller. Amon and Jenna are the third generation operators of Full Belly Farm, which is located about 2 hours north of San Francisco, in an area north of Sacramento called Capay Valley. Their parents ran the farm before them. So they're second generation running Full Belly, but they are third generation farmers because their grandparents also had a farm, not Full Belly. But it is a 400-acre, incredible, sustainable farm, like the very model of what a sustainable farm should be, and a sort of a modern, regenerative, very eco-conscious farm. They grow over 80 different crops. And basically the kids, Amon and Jenna, grew up working with their parents, selling at farmers markets. I think the first farmers market that Full Belly sold at was in Palo Alto. They then sold throughout Lake Marin, all over Northern California. And the kids were at the booth, seeing the produce that they had harvested with their parents, seeing the way that chefs, people like Alice Waters, came in to the farmers markets and bought the produce and then turned them into beautiful, beautiful dishes in their restaurants. So who better to write a cookbook using and celebrating, utilizing, and just showcasing all this beautiful, directly farm to table produce, because they saw it up close and they saw how these legendary Bay Area and Northern California chefs utilized things seasonally and utilized just the best produce they could get their hands on. This is for anyone that loves going to farmers markets, anyone that likes to cook seasonally, and that's obviously something that we get to do in California on a regular basis. Everybody has a farmer's market near them, and everybody can get produce someplace a little better than Vons. Sorry, Vons, but your produce is not very good. Nor is the produce at most major supermarket chains that we go to. So farmers markets really open up a whole world of flavors and just different options to you. As usual, I'm going to hold up some tantalizing spreads and get everyone's stomachs growling before lunch. But I really like this quote from Alice Waters on the back of the book. I think this kind of encapsulates what it's about. Full Belly Farm has inspired the chefs at Chez Panisse for decades. This fabulous book celebrates the cycles of growing, harvesting, cooking, and gathering with delicious recipes that honor and revere the rhythms of the land and the seasons. She also writes a foreword, I believe, here. But, just it's like standard kind of Hardy Grant or Chronicle kind of beautiful spreads. Just this is an amazing looking roasted asparagus with poached eggs and za'atar butter. It says it's hearty enough to be an entire meal. There are sweets that you can use produce for. This is a strawberry thyme shortcake, a beautiful idea. There's also a pavlova in here that looks incredible. There's these cool kind of chapter breaks that will take a certain kind of produce, something that's a varietal and has a lot of different varieties, like these are melons. And then it breaks it down for you in a really cool visual chart, melon varieties and their qualities. And there are melons here I've never even heard of. The snow leopard, the crimson sweetwater melon, the Sherilyn, the Pila de Sapo, also known as the Santa Claus melon. So you learn something in every page of this book. I'm really on a big eggplant kick lately. I don't know what it is, but here's roasted eggplant salad with herbs and lemon tahini yogurt. So just these beautiful kind of California produce forward recipes. Arugula and Mizuna salad with fennel, roasted beets, persimmon, and candied walnuts. I mean, wow. Again, that just looks absolutely fresh, vibrant, and beautiful. And just in closing, I want to read this really, really nice thing that Amon wrote. And this made me think a lot about where food comes from and where we think about where our food comes from. In today's world that's obsessed with convenience, it can be easy to forget that every bunch of carrots that you pick up was harvested by a person. We hope this book fosters a sense of connection with the people who planted, cared for, and picked those carrots. If you're curious about where your food comes from and might be interested in supporting local farms and food systems, please take a seat at our family table. They have been doing dinners at the farm since 2010. And many of these recipes in this book were favorites at the dinners and things that they served guests and their own family. So it's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful cookbook in stores now.
I think this is an ideal cookbook to use after you read Andrea's book, right? That's
Right.
an excellent pairing. Connection with where your food comes from, the ingredients, all of that kind of thing, really getting in touch with. I just think it makes so much sense to think about what it is that you're eating, where it comes from, and sort of know what it is. I mean, you don't have to, although I do go thank my plants when I cut when I go cut herbs and everything for being so nice and producing things. But I mean, there's something about the connection to ingredients before you eat it and understanding what it's all about that I think just it makes eating a more pleasurable experience. And but it's also, I think, better for you just in every way, right?
Yes.
Plus everything in there looks really delicious.
Right.
So
That's the idea.
it's very
Good for
exciting.
you, looks good on the plate, and it feels ethically and culturally good to eat this way and support, these sustainable farms. The main thing at Full Belly is that they want their soil to be as healthy as possible. And in each harvest, they want to do it in a way that reinforces the soil and keeps the soil propagating and healthy. So it is really with an eye on sustaining the farm, and each harvest and each crop is there to bring the next one and keep the food and the soil healthy as possible. Really beautiful idea.
I love that. That's amazing. Beautiful book. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dave. Tom, you got some big
Yeah,
big books this
big
week.
hitter.
What's
Yes.
the first one?
And I love when a theme emerges, and that
Ah,
is historical fiction. But for every kind of reader, more surreal to more conventional, but all fantastic. So the first book is Alvaro Enrigue's Now I Surrender. So this is from Riverhead, and Enrique, his last book was You Dreamed of Empires, which was a New York Times top 10 book of the year. And really set in, that was his second novel, but he became a bestseller with You Dreamed of Empires. So Now I Surrender is the story of this big, passionate, epic, anti-Western, really, about the American West and the Southwest borderlands and the American conquest. So it starts with a woman running across the Badlands in the Southwest, being chased by a lieutenant colonel of the new American Republic. So you're thrust into the 1830s. That's one storyline. Several decades later, you meet Geronimo, which of course the title Now I Surrender comes from the story of Geronimo, as he is tracked by American and Mexican militaries. And so the story of the Apache becomes very much the story of the book. And then we get to the present. There's a present story of a family driving across the Southwest. in search of a new kind of the real history, not the history we've been told through the the Western. I mean, and this book plays playfully. I mean, Enrique is playful always, but he's playing with the conventions of the American Western that have come down to us. But it feels fresh, brand new, as he's telling the story that, the story that we may know some of, but in a way that we've never heard before. Past and present, myth and history, and an elegy for a land that is lost in many ways. His longtime translator is Natasha Wimmer, who is one of the very best translators out there, who captures his wit, the poetry of the language. It's a beautiful book that I became obsessed with it as I got deeper and deeper into it. It came out last week. Reviews are already starting. The Atlantic says the book distills a Byzantine swirl of historical events through the lives of a handful of very colorful characters, intertwining several real and invented incidents with major moments in the Apache Wars, a series of skirmishes involving Native Americans, the U.S., and Mexico. Enrique's penchant for shooting the facts of history through the prism of the absurd makes him singular, but it also puts him firmly in a long literary tradition. And that tradition, I would say, is Borges, Pynchon, even Bolaño. That's the kind of literary territory that you have here with all of his books, especially this one. So very exciting, to have a new book from Alvaro Enrique. And in person, he's very charming. And there's something very charming about the books as well that comes through the language. So highly recommend Now I Surrender.
This looks great. This is the only one of the three that you're going to talk about today that I haven't read.
Right, I know.
But I'm super intrigued by it, and it looks fantastic. And I know people who I am married to who would really enjoy this book.
Absolutely.
It looks fantastic. So is that on sale? And I'm sorry,
a week ago.
A week ago.
It's
All
been out
right.
for a week.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. All right, back to you, Andrea.
Thank you. Count me among the people that are very excited about this title. Wow. Sounds great. The next book I want to talk about is from McNally Editions, and this is an awfully big adventure from the fabulous Beryl Bainbridge. Now, she has been out of print for a while in North America, which is a crime against literary humanity. So excited to see that their McNally Editions is working to bring her books back in. This is the first of a series of her titles that will be coming to bookstores near you, including Diesel. And this is a Blackley comic story of secrets, sex, lies, secrets, no videotape, as this is set in the 60s. Post-war, so a little bit before the 60s. And it revolves around, it's behind the curtain scenes of a repertory theater troupe's production of Peter Pan. And let me see if I can find, the Times of London says its close observation and hilarity are underlain by a sense of tragedy as deep as any in fiction, which is, that's really highfalutin, and love that. And there's it's a shabby repertory theater company in Liverpool, but the action is world class in terms of dissipation and regret. And there's a famous line in Peter Pan: "To die will be an awfully big adventure," and that's where we get the title here. And Bainbridge, if you don't know about her, is considered, her nickname was the Booker Bridesmaid, as she was shortlisted for that highest of English language literary prizes 5 times and never became the bride, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that she does not deserve to be read. She does. That was another crime against literary humanity, that she never won the Booker, but these books are now coming back into print here, so you get to read her whole array of incredible novels, starting with An Awfully Big Adventure, which is in Diesel right now.
I love these McNally editions so much. They're just so great to look at, and they're so wonderful in the way that they reintroduce readers to writers who have kind of are out of the public eye, or even the backlist eye, and bring it back and get them new readerships. I love it.
Yeah.
And so many of these are just really fun plots that I think people don't realize that, a lot of the plots that they see, in film and even in books have been around before. And these are the kinds of stories that a lot of newer films and books are built on, So it's great to see where they come from. I love the cover on that one too. The covers are always great, but that one really looks good.
Yeah, it's good.
Thanks, Andrea. All right,
You're welcome.
Dave, back to you.
Okay, I want to switch it up a little bit. For my second pick today, Chronicle, as you may already know, we do plenty of kids publishing, an incredible array of children's books. One of our very best and most beloved imprints at Chronicle for kids' books is Levine Quirdo, or otherwise known in shorthand as LQ, as we call them in-house. And they publish a really vibrant and diverse list of kids' titles each season through Chronicle that we distribute. And this one is so much fun. It came out 1 month ago yesterday. And this is a fantastic graphic novel, first in a trilogy called Moon and the Galactic Peacekeepers. It's written by Frances Lee. She is a Korean-Canadian comic book artist and also tattoo artist that lives in Canada. And this is her debut in this planned trilogy. We will have new installments coming, I believe, this fall and again next spring to round out the 3 books. But to jump in, and this hotel lamp is weird, but maybe you can see this got a remarkable sparkle cover. It looks so much better in person, but it's a beautiful flexi bind. We're doing this in both paperback and hardcover, but this actually has this luminous sparkle. It is such a dazzling little package, and it is just a super vibrant, crazy intergalactic adventure, full color, fantastic character design, and really fun. I'm going to give you a little encapsulation of Moon, who she is and what she's doing in these pages. But this is a great reluctant reader book in that it's in a visual format. It's set up like a really cool and zany comic book. So Moon is the only human in Andromeda, a galaxy with billions of planets and stars and an unknown number of moons. She doesn't know what galaxy humans come from or how to get back to Earth. So she joins the Galactic Peacekeepers Society, which, if you're a comics nerd, sounds a little bit like Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps. She and her alien teammates, Sumo, a large puffy rabbit, and Rosa, a small shark, go on peacekeeping missions with their AI system, which they nickname MOM, or Mom. Some of their missions aren't action-packed, but they often lead to unexpected moments that evoke strong emotional reactions, such as crying and angry outbursts. So being a galactic peacekeeper, there are a lot of flaring emotions and conflicts around the galaxy that Ami has to step in, learn how to diffuse situations, and kind of keep the peace emotionally, keep the peace in all these different cultures that she meets and explores throughout the galaxy. And the team traverses the galaxy. They help others and maintain peace while learning to work through big feelings and support each other. So there is a message here amidst all the wackiness. We are calling this, I think this is a cool mashup description, Star Trek meets Adventure Time, if you know what Adventure Time is, meets just dazzling, colorful anime fun. So a lot of kids are really obsessed right now with anime and manga. So it's got this very cool style that is immediately accessible for a young reader. Like I said, it's great for a reluctant reader. It's not too wordy. It's super visual and dynamic. There's like these really fun spreads. She plays a lot with style. I like this a lot, where there's like these little news bulletins that look like newspaper pages that kind of interrupt the story to give you updates. Her style is remarkable, and it's super dynamic, colorful, and fun. I think kids are going to love this. Like I said, published simultaneously a month ago in both a nice flexi paperback and a beautiful little hardcover edition as well. So that is Moon and the Galactic Peacekeepers on your shelves at Diesel now.
Did you say? Did you tell us the age range? For
I would
this,
say
Dave?
8 to 12.
8 to 12.
Like
So
8 and up.
that's a prime readership right there. We talk
Sure, like
about this a
middle
lot.
reader. Yeah.
Readers who are just sort of, they're not ready for the more mature themes, but they have a little more autonomy in the books that they're choosing, and they're really developing their own unique kind of tastes for books. They're the best shoppers, kids that age, because their parents are sort of hovering nearby, but not kind of influencing them that much. I mean, they're not going and sitting with picture books like the little kids or the older
Right.
kids who just go right to what they want. So they're really developing their tastes at this point. And like you said, reluctant readers, I think there's a little pushback at first, or sometimes that, parents don't want to get kids, comic books, which they feel like graphic novels are, but they're so clever, the graphic novels, because they really are a bridge, I think, for readers who are a little bit hesitant or not feeling totally confident about their
Right.
reading skills, and they really get them in there, and then that's it. Then they're readers,
And then you're hooked.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
So
idea.
perfect. I also love that Star Trek just carries on forever.
It sure does.
Thank you, Dave. All right, Tom.
All right. My next book is The Complex by Karan Mahajan. So this takes us to India, really from its founding through the next 50 years. The complex of the title has many meanings, but really it's the sprawling complex in New Delhi that the sons and daughters of S.P. Chopra, who is in the book one of the founding architects of India. So they all live in a complex, and they influence each other. They vie for power with each other. And everything is shaped by Chopra's legacy. And so then it takes us to the 1970s. It really opens in the 1970s. All of these descendants of Chopra are vying for their own relevance, and the country's on the brink of transforming itself in every way, really. And so then one of the descendants, Sachin, with his wife Geeta, they moved to Michigan. So you get American immigrants to America in the 1970s and early 1980s, but there's still the pull back to India. And then there's the character of Laxman, who is Sachin's uncle, I think, who is both a predator and very much in a key scenes in the book, but also he's rising in the ranks of Hindu nationalism. So politically, he's becoming more and more powerful. So he weaves together all of the stories of all of these characters in the complex, and it's brilliant. I mean, his first book, it was not his first book, but his first book that we published was the last book. An Association of Small Bombs was a finalist for the National Book Award, but that was probably 10 years ago. So he's been working, for a long time on this book, and you can feel, this is the book that we've been waiting for. It's filled with, I didn't know much about Indian history really, or political history for sure, but you learn a lot through that, but you really carried through the book by the family, it's a big family story, which is why reviewers are comparing the authors that come up are Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. It's that kind of big family book. And then this week I love Ron Charles, who the late of the Washington Post book world. And he now has a Substack, and every week he reviewed, just like he did at the Washington Post, and did so much for American fiction, raising books up. And he reviewed this book, and he compared it to Franzen's The Corrections, which I hadn't thought of, in its wit, psychological shrewdness, and cultural insight. Like The Complex itself, this capacious novel is constantly evolving and reinventing itself, adding on an illegal passage here and abandoning its shaky room there. He captures India at a moment of explosive change where private desire and public ambition feed on each other greedily, and so many vulnerable people are swallowed up. I think captures so much of what this book does. So this is a book that definitely is going to be on 10 best lists. It's going to be nominated for awards, and very exciting to have this book out in the world. It was on sale yesterday. It has all the things, an Indie Next Pick, great reviews. So check it out, The Complex.
I've been wanting to talk about this book forever.
Right.
I've been hearing about it for so long, and I don't even remember when I read it, but it was a while ago. And I'm so glad you mentioned, well, of course you did, because you're Tom Benton. Ron Charles, because I just read that also. And by the way, Ron Charles, his Substack is just really worth signing up for. You just get some really great book reviews mainlined into your inbox. It's fantastic. So I love that. I mean, he does compare it to Franzen, but I think I've enjoyed it much more than Franzen. A lot.
Yeah, divisive, Frank.
But also just in the read, and it really is sprawling is a good word for it, but also just really intricate and complex, and you just dive right into this world. And another thing I like that Ron Charles said was that, complex having so many meanings,
Yes.
complexes and all kinds of psychological complexes, as well as the complex where they are. So really great book. It's just gonna be this is the big one.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely, yeah.
sure, but we're deserving of all of the praise that it's getting. So thank you, Tom. Andrew, why don't you start off our last round?
Okay, thank you. Wow, Tom, you just have a whole case of like amazing big novels.
It's that kind of week.
Yeah.
Well,
it's exciting.
Tom hasn't been around for a couple weeks, so
That's
he
true.
comes
I can
back
drop
with like
them.
these huge books.
Well, I have a slender collection of stories that really pack a punch. And this is from Unnamed Press, one of our small indie presses that is publishes stories just across town from Diesel. And this is it's called Slow Stories, and it's by Bet Andriance. I apologize. A Dutch author who most recently co-authored What Art Does with Brian Eno, which I've talked about it here on Elevenses with the Reps, and it is done extremely well in the indie bookstore marketplace. And also Diesel has handed over a lot of copies of that book, and we think this one has a lot of potential as well, in that this Dutch author's arc is rising because of her work with Brian Eno. And these stories conjure attention that demands attention here. The narrator's voice insists that we take our time and contemplate our own place in the universe, hence the title, Slow Stories. They're reminiscent of Calvino's fabulous world building, but are a little bit more radical, really, over safety and sharing of technology, sovereignty, and a sense of community. Bet A, everybody calls her Bet A. So Bet A's authorial voice here really transports us to other worlds, while also reminding us that we have a lot to deal with in our own. Kirkus Reviews just came out with a great review on this book, and 16 Stories explores the shimmering and dangerous expanse between fantasy and reality. A's ruminations on perception, power, technology, authenticity, authority, tradition, and community are unassumingly sharp. An understated collection that feels both timeless and prophetic. So there you go. Both timeless and prophetic. Slow Stories from Bet A. 150 pages, easy to pick up, but power-packed with what's inside this slender little volume. And a nice little cover too. It's gonna look good on tables and shelves. So
I love that cover. It draws you
Yeah.
right in. Makes me want to pick it up. This is a great cover. You've got some really great collections of short stories coming. And I just finished one from Milkweed that I'm sure you're going to talk about. Patient Female. That is outstanding as well. And you've had a bunch of them, and this one looks great. And I love that it's packs a punch, that it's slender but packs a punch. I've been reading a lot of really great short novels and short books lately, and you can read more of them. I always say I like the short ones because you can read more of them. You can stack more of them on the table. But this one's great. Unnamed Press is fantastic as well. So
Yep, we're happy to see that they're working with Bet A. And just a reminder, the short story is the new black.
the short stories, they come and go in popularity. They're having a moment right now, which is fantastic. And we've talked about this. I think you were here, Tom, actually, the last time we talked about short stories. Just they're much harder to write than longer works, and much harder to a really good, tight short story. There's a lot more effort in that. And, you have to be really skilled to write a really good short story. And some of these collections are just amazing right now. So I guess it's good that attention spans have, shortened, and that we're getting short stories are back, because that's all people have time for. But hey, I'll take it. I think it's great. Thanks,
Indeed.
Andrea. Dave?
Okay, last book today. This is a fun little itty bitty impulse item that you now have 6 of at the Brentwood store, in your store. And this is from Brass Monkey, which is one of our wonderful little gift publishers that we distribute through Chronicle. This is, the title is a mouthful, A Useful Guide to Useless Facts That Are Kind of Useful. This is a teeny weeny little hardcover book at $12. You can stack this near your register and watch it fly. They say that knowledge is power, so imagine the superiority that you'll feel after you memorize all of this useless junk in these pages. Seriously, what are you going to use more? A bunch of algebra or a list of what corn dogs are called around the world? I think you're going to use the list of corn dogs around the world. So it is what it says on the tin. It's just a fun little impulse book. I'm going to share some wacky facts with you from in here. Book's just set up in a really nice, clean, easily readable type. There's so much information jammed into this little tiny book, so it's a lot of text. There is a useful compilation of Shakespearean insults that spreads over 2 pages. I'll read you a couple. Thou damned and luxurious mountain goat. That comes from Henry V. Thou lump of foul deformity. That comes from Richard III. I like this one from Cymbeline. Thy tongue outvenoms all the worms of Nile. I'm going to put that in my back pocket for a party. My gosh, here's a good one. Your brain is as dry as the remainder of a biscuit after a voyage, which is from As You Like It. So should you need to pull Shakespearean insults out of your pocket at a party, you can memorize them from this book. Here's a list of things, unlikely items found inside of sharks. A full suit of armor, a cannonball, porcupine remains, license plates, sure, we've all seen Jaws, a bottle of wine, a bag of money, guitars, a barrel of nails, and ultimately Barbie dolls. Very weird. There's an entire list here of every place mentioned by Johnny Cash in the song called I've Been Everywhere. That is 57 total locations that he rattles off through the lyrics of that song. They're all listed here, so you can memorize them. And again, impress your friends or confuse your friends. There's a partial list of Macy's Thanksgiving Day punctured parade balloons. In 1929, Fritz the Dachshund and the Gobble Turkey were both punctured and damaged in the parade. In 1978, the Happy Dragon took a direct blow and popped. Bullwinkle, famously in 1982, was punctured. Good God. Bugs Bunny, Snoopy, and Woodstock were all punctured in 1989. That is a bloodbath of epidemic proportions. All of the Brass Monkey product is very snarky. They call what they do inspired smartassery. They're the kind of company that underneath the ISBN on the back of the book, this is a book of useless facts, in the tiniest type possible, it says, by the way, penguins poop every 20 minutes. So I love hidden details like that. I like to go through everything that Brass Monkey does with a magnifying glass. Even this page with the, credits and all the kind of printing information is full of snark and full of humor. $12. You guys have a stack in your store. This is such a fun, goofy, wacky impulse book, but there are actually fascinating facts to be had. So pure impulse and a fun thing to take along in the car or to have at a party in your back pocket. So that is a useful guide to useless facts that are kind of useful.
I mean, for
Did you learn a lot?
$12, you can't afford not to buy it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
love Brass Monkey. I love everything that they do. This is just such a fun and easy little book to pick up for yourself, for a gift. It's a really great time for it to come out right now. We've coming up on a lot of gifting type holidays that are coming up. So it's perfect for that. Great graduation gift to put in there, and yeah, you just stack them up at the counter. That's exactly it.
So who doesn't love
You can't
trivia?
not
I was
like, just something you
obsessed.
just add on there,
Yeah, yeah. I loved the Book of Lists as a kid in the 70s. Does everybody remember that series, the Book of
Oh
Lists?
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember those authors, but I mean, I just like I grew up reading lists. So this is like if you are a listophile, this is like a really satisfying little chewy nugget.
Well, and what kind of mind even thinks about talking about all the Macy Day parade punctured balloons? I mean,
You do though. If you think about it, you're like, yeah, what about
Anyway,
that
it's
actually?
fantastic. It's really, I mean, there's something in there for everybody for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic. Thank you, Dave. All right, Tom, let's wrap it up for the day.
Okay. So since I won't be here next week when it's on sale, I am giving you a preview of a book that Deborah knows I have been an evangelist for many months, and it is finally being published. It's called The Shock of the Light by Laurie Inglis Hall. This is, and I think of myself as I don't necessarily gravitate towards World War II historical novels. This is from Pamela Dorman Books, and Pam Dorman is one of our very best editors. And I always think of her books as being the intersection of literary and commercial. The books are always well written, but they appeal to the widest of audiences. And that's the case here. So this is the story but I fell for this book. So even though I feel like I'm not the normal reader for this book, I completely flipped out for this book. So it's the story of Tessa and Theo. They are twins. They're growing up in Cambridge, England, just before World War II. And it's about how their lives diverge. So Theo is gay, but of course must keep that secret. He joins the RAF, becomes a flyer, a hero of World War II. Tessa joins the Special Operations Executive, where she ends up going to really does help the French resistance. So she goes to France as a spy. So you have spycraft, you have, this big story of the war. Theo comes home after the war. Tessa doesn't. So a big part of the book, and Theo never loses sight of his twin and needs to know what happened to her, what was her story. So it's propulsive. It's everything you want from a World War II book. There's bravery. There's, it's brutal. I love a twin story. This is a fantastic twin story, and just the story of love that lasts through it all. It's one of those books that I literally was like in tears at the end and I was reading it on electronic devices long before we had physical books. And I don't cry when I'm reading on on an iPad very often. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And it's a book that when I've given it to booksellers, same thing. Like I had a bookseller in Albuquerque who was reading it over the weekend. Rains came and it soaked her galley and she was not able to read it. She had to wait for it to dry out. And then she was reading this, rain soaked, now dried out galley. It's just a beautiful, beautiful book. So if you love, of course, All the Light You Cannot See, that kind of book, this is for you. I love that we have a William Boyd quote, who I love the writer William Boyd. A wonderfully conceived and remarkably assured first novel, rich in emotion and with a truly compelling narrative drive, a brilliant success. So Laurie Inglis Hall, she works at the Lee Miller Archive. So Lee Miller, as I'm sure many of us know, she was many things, but including a war correspondent. And I'm sure there's no Lee Miller in this book, but much of what she's learned from the life of Lee Miller informs The Shock of the Light. And then she's also telling the story of the British women spies who were real people who the British government barely acknowledged. She's done deep research into that. And so their story comes through here. But really, it's a brother-sister story. You will not be able to put it down, I promise. So that's The Shock of the Light, Laurie Inglis Hall, on sale next Tuesday.
So this isn't my kind of book either, which Tom knew. And when he was telling me about it, he said, look, I know, It's World War II. But trust me, and I always do trust Tom implicitly, but I thought that was an interesting intro, and he's right. I couldn't believe that it was a first novel.
Yeah.
The writing is so assured. It's pretty incredible. She clearly knew, these people and exactly where
Yeah.
she wanted to go, and they really come alive. I think it's going to be just such an easy book to recommend to readers, and it just has such a broad appeal.
I agree. But in a strange way, I feel it needs all the love it can get, because we live in a time where we were talking about reviews.
Yeah.
There aren't very many reviews. There are not enough reviews.
Yeah.
And these days also, a book like this, if it doesn't get chosen for one of the, Good Morning America, Today Show book clubs, it just needs booksellers to recommend it. And like you say, it's an easy one.
Yeah. But see, that starts with people like you, Tom, telling booksellers, I know this isn't the kind of thing you read normally, and I feel like, do you remember Remarkable Creatures?
Yes.
Remarkably Bright Creatures. Whoops.
Yeah.
Remarkably Bright Creatures, that was a little sleeper just like this.
Yeah.
A totally different topic, but it was the same kind of thing. Kind of broad appeal, a little bit, a different approach, but still very easy to recommend. And that just rode right into this enormous sales on the strength of word of mouth, which is the best.
That is the best. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best. And that's, that's what we do. And it starts on the indie level and keeps going. But I really do want to give it that love and that thumbs up, because it is, even if you think, no, I've seen too many World War II, it's not, it's different. It's different.
You haven't seen this story. You haven't read this story.
Yeah. Yeah. It's different, and it goes down really easy. So.
Yeah. Well, there's a kind of a mystery, about what happened.
Yes.
To test.
But for me, I mean, there's something for everybody, really. Like, I like the twin idea, the twin story, but then also the story of the women spies. That was really, really intriguing for me too. So definitely something for everyone. A lot of great books this week, Tom and Dave and Andrea. Fantastic collection of books. I knew you guys always bring it. Always happy to have you all here talking about all of these books. Really appreciate you taking your time to spend with us.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
It's a standing invitation. So thank you again, Andrea Tetrick from PGW, Dave Ehrlich from Chronicle Books, Tom Benton from Penguin. Thank you to Joey, outstanding producer behind the scenes, posting all of the links and covers. And thanks everybody for tuning in. We will be back again next week. We will have more reps. We will have more exciting books to talk about. It's spring. It's a big season. So, get your stacks ready. And so we hope you will come back and join us again then. And until then, everybody have a great week and happy reading. We'll see you next week.